survived that movie. If you watched it, I don't know.
It was a wild
Oh,
it was a wild ass time. I wish we watched it before his house because I couldn't stop comparing even after I knew it wasn't the house's fault. Yeah.
I was so scared I didn't make notes. So I did this. Like I would say his house is a better overall film because I think it weaved in more themes and more ideas. This was legitimately scarier to me. Like I was terrified.
I feel like his house was scary just because so much weird shit was happening in that house that I couldn't get settled. Whereas this feels, I don't want to take anything away from it, but it also feels very familiar because we've done how many Amityville's, we've done how many haunted house movies where it's like we all move in, we don't want to move out, get the people involved.
But this was not just a haunted house. This demon had latched on to that person. Because remember, they told them wherever they went, because they were like, "We're gonna leave, we out, bye," and they're like, "No, that you can, but good luck."
But we had to find that out. At first, it was like, "This is your house, get out," and they didn't. They were like, "Let us stay, even though our daughters are terrified and being attacked by things we can't see." And then, like, once the people were involved, then it was like, it's actually a following you now. And we don't know where they picked it up. Like, they picked it up in the house, which is what it sounds like, or what. But I did take notes. So let us rewind to the very beginning where we see Annabelle, who I thought would be key in this movie. She was not.
Well, because are you're aware that the Lorraine and whatever her husband's name is, Patrick Stewart, sexy ass, they're real people. Like this is
real people. Yeah.
Yeah. So and so is Anna, and actually in real life, Annabelle. Makes it even creepier to me.
In the museum.
Is a Raggedy. Yeah, no, it's a Raggedy Ann doll.
I didn't know it was a Raggedy Ann doll.
You can find pictures of it online. Hold on. I'm gonna search it real quick. But anyways, yes, you're right. She's in the beginning of this. Yeah. I think that's because they thought they wanted this to become a universe, and they have since created this universe. But yeah.
It was just wild. All I knew about this franchise was this doll is haunted. I can't see that. I can kind of see it. Yeah, so I was tricked because I was told this was a movie about a doll, and I was like, oh, like Chucky, I got this, and it was not. It was, let's get into these houses and see some things happen. What bothered me from the people who had the doll, who we didn't see again, really, is that they invited her to inhabit the doll to live with them because they're nurses and they care. What is that shit? What is that?
I mean, truly. I will say that, like, they did not think it was a demon. They thought it was a harmless ghost.
Don't invite anybody.
I know.
Don't invite anybody. How about we do that?
Right. Well, this is also, I'm pretty sure that scene was in the 60s when they were still fucking leaving their doors open at night.
You left your door open to the spirit world, though. This is different.
I mean, true, but I'm just saying everyone was making careless decisions. But yeah, then we flash forward. Oh, an interesting little plot point. If you look when it goes to Lorraine and her husband giving the speech in the college, in the audience, one of them is the real Lorraine. She worked on this film.
Yeah, like she was alive until recently.
Yeah.
I also didn't know this was going to be based on a true story until I heard their names. I was like, those names sound familiar. Why is that? And then Wikipedia is like, real people. This not lying to you. This is real. And I'm like, no, I don't want to.
Right. I'm glad that we have Cabin in the Woods after this because I'm going to need something to help.
I'm gonna need that, some bourbon and some bourbon's friends.
There's a reason I have not watched this movie in years because it literally, from beginning, well, not from beginning, from like 20 minutes in to the end, terrifies me. The clap, no, ma'am. I'm never playing that game again in my life. I've never played it once. I'm not playing it ever.
Never. When they rolled in with 5 kids, because you know how I feel about kids in horror movies. So I was like, you're going to roll in with 5 kids. I don't need to be here. And I wish I'd known that. I would have picked a different movie. I was like, from here on out, only movies with 1 kid or less. 1 or less.
This movie. And they're 5 girls too, which is an interesting thing to state. And it shows you at the end of the film when the credits start, it shows you a picture of the real life family, and it is 5 girls. And then it shows you the Warrens and their child.
Yeah. I also want to know why they stayed in that house when they found that basement full of stuff, because a basement full of stuff means someone left in a hurry.
True. Boarded up too. Boarded up.
If there's boards, there's a story, and I don't want it. That's where storyboard comes from. I'm going to claim that right. Storyboards come from people moving in these old ass houses, seeing boarded up shit and pulling it down and getting stories like the one we saw today.
But also, while yes, spirits terrify me, the idea of finding something like in your home that's been like hidden is so interesting to me. I would do it. I would find it and then move out, but I would love to find it.
I would find it and just leave. I wouldn't even pack my own stuff. It would be accumulating with everybody else's that I just found. I would be like, oh, these aren't my Pringles. Good night. I would be gone.
Oh my God. I'm still like, so I just finished this like at 8:00. So it was like 7:59. And I am still kind of coming off of this. Because
Yeah. No, I also want to know what Lorraine saw, because her husband did not want to ask her. And she didn't leave her room. She didn't eat. She didn't sleep for 8 days. And she had seen stuff till then. She'd seen a lot of things. So what has she seen?
The sequels play with that. The sequels show you.
I won't be watching those because this is dark-sided, but it's good to know that we get answers eventually.
And you get answers into the fathers. Like, anyway, they're all tied together. Annabelle, Conjuring, Conjuring 2, whatever. Yeah, they're all tied together.
There's another one coming out next year.
Yeah. The Nun? No, The Nun's already out.
Yeah.
And it was very good. But I will say this film and the sequel, Conjuring 2, is also really good. They're the best 2 of this franchise, in my opinion. Annabelle is not terrible, but those 2 are equally terrifying. The sequel takes place in England on another family who's haunted by demons. Terrifying.
I mean, that tracks. I feel like oftentimes people plan for the first sequel, like Halloween. And after that, they're just making it up, and it shows. Like, I can't think of any good, aside from Scream, I can't think of any good third sequels of horror movies that I was like, yes. And even Scream's third one was sloppy. Like, let's be honest, we can like it, but it ain't the best.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I can't think of any. I mean, not horror anyway, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I would argue that. Well, we're not going there because it's beside the point. But
our viewers, do you have a third horror movie in a franchise that is good? Because it ain't Halloween. It ain't Friday the 13th.
I like Dream Warriors. It's not as good, but I do enjoy it. I think it's fun.
I've yet to see one where it's like, we needed this third one.
I feel like the third one in Nightmare was needed because it brought us back to where we were in the first one. They had that offset in the sequel that people didn't care for. Even though I don't hate the sequel either. The first, anyway, I have issues with all three of the first three Nightmare movies, so they're all pretty much even-ish with me. It's after that third one that I'm like, why are you still here?
I feel like the first one still pretty much holds up. I mean, don't get me wrong. It gets campier every day. But
You know my feelings.
right? It gets camp every day. And Nancy, how do you deal with a problem like Nancy? However, I felt like the second one, it was very 80s, but that's of the time. And then after that, I was like, oh, so we're just coming back because money. Okay.
I will say that is fair. The third one did feel, anyways, we're off on Nightmare on Elm Street tangent. But I will say I did enjoy the third one, even though I get what you're saying. And that does track.
Awesome. My next note, these bruises. If you are being beat up by a presence in your home, you have to see.
Okay. Like, I understand the first night because they had sex, and like she's like, "What'd you do to me?" And like sometimes that happens, or sometimes.
But because you was there, like, you have an idea of where the bruises should be, and she seemed surprised by that.
True. I mean, I will say sometimes I will like find like a scratch or something on me. I'm like, what happened with that? So like the first time.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you stubbed your toe.
As someone accident prone, I do find bruises and I go, oh yeah, I did bump into whatever yesterday and it was that height. That makes sense. But I've never found like random ass bruises all over the place. And I was like, oh, it must be iron deficiency because I can't be bothered to look around and read the room. My girls are having nightmares and saying people are watching them and things are jumping off of them. They can't be connected.
Right. I don't know where this is on your notes, but the scene that that like elevated this film from like, okay, this is kind of scary, whatever. The little girl's getting her foot pulled, like, oh, that's kind of scary. Oh, that's scary that she sees him in the corner. Okay, and the door shuts. But that scene where it's late at night and they're home alone, the dad's not there for some reason. I think he's at work. And the mom hears the clapping and gets locked in the basement. And then the girl sees the witch on the top of because you think that scene where you see the witch is so good because you think it's going to be in the closet.
No, like she hissed at her and leaped at her. And I was like, it's Carol Baskins. And I almost fell off the couch. I was like, this movie's done.
Funny story, Carol Baskin. You can get a cameo from Carol Baskin too.
Okay. Carol Baskin. That's what they've done. They've gone too far.
That whole section from the mom and like you hear the clapping. Oh, and when she's in the basement, and the voice says, "Do you want to play two claps and hide or whatever?" And then you see the hands. I was like, oh my God.
Right by her. I would have died right there. I don't know how she survived that. I would have been like, that's my heart. It's fine. It's my time.
Oh, Charlie's here. Charlie.
Yeah. Let's throw Charlie on the spot. Welcome to the Zoom. What's your first point, Charlie One?
Oh, but yeah, that whole section just makes me, oh my God.
Oh my God, yes.
I love it.
Yes. Happy Halloween.
Hello, happy Halloween. This is the only time I've worn a costume today.
Oh.
I was in one until like 3 hours ago, and then I was like, I'm gonna put this hoodie on. And you are winning.
That's Quincy.
Hello, Quincy.
Hi, Quincy. You got any thoughts, Quincy? Quincy's like, no, I want.
No, He was sleeping.
That's fair.
He thinks that's candy. He's like, "Can I have that, please?"
Oh,
Thank you.
is that catnip?
Like, weapon.
But as you know, we're talking about The Conjuring. If you want to throw out some of your points.
Yeah. Everyone on the internet world, this is Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
Been on an episode yet to their knowledge.
Next Monday. Because time travel. Yeah. Charlie's episode is next Monday. You're going to love the picture we were sent to put with it.
That was the picture I sent you was last year's award-winning Halloween costume.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
This will be my first year in 3 years not winning a Halloween costume contest.
I mean, if they vote for you, you just might. I would say put it in there. No one's put it in anything yet. It's just me, and I can't win because I'm going to be on the first episode anyways.
Wait,
Well,
so what do I do?
You just put it on that thread in the event page. I'll tag you. I will tag you when we're done with this before we start a cabin in the woods.
Does it count? Does it count if the costume I'm wearing is one that I've worn before?
You don't know that. Stop giving away secrets, Charlie.
Oh, then I haven't worn it before.
No, it's brand new. Shh.
It is.
So, The Conjuring.
Yes, I just finished it.
Still terrifying.
I've seen it before, but I had to rewatch it. So I got my AMC 7-day free trial.
Boop, boop. So did I.
I remember
Which,
that
you
I
know
had it
what,
on
AMC
Blu-ray, so I was good.
You know what, AMC? By this time, we can do without commercials. Like, if I'm paying for your shit,
Yes.
we did not.
I was insulted because the commercials kept falling when they didn't need to be there. Because you'd be like, oh God, no, are we going to die? Nosferatu on Sundays. And I was like, I don't care about Nosferatu. I want to know what happened with this Carol Baskin character on this cabinet.
Especially since most of the commercials were for Shudder. Like, I was like, I already have Shudder. Like, why are you showing me commercials for Shudder? I've got that.
It was a choice to be like, hey, you like what we're doing? Here's somebody that does it better. And there's no commercials. You're welcome.
But so yeah, we're talking about the section when the mom or Lily Taylor, that's her last name. Anyways, is being she's been kept up in the basement, and then we see Carol Baskin on top of the cabinet. That's who we're calling the witch now. She's Carol Baskin.
She hissed at her.
That
And
was actually Carol Baskin was actually the inspiration for that character.
I knew it. We were all looking at Annabelle. I wish I'd been looking at Carol.
But that scene, oh my God. And the dad is not there. Then he finally shows up, and like everyone is screaming at the same time.
Because they didn't take it serious, like all horror movies. They were like, weird things are happening and our kids are being attacked, but that's just the suburbs.
So, oh, you know what? Hold on. I have to come back in a second. My pizza is.
That's fair. I would also leave me for a pizza. But I want to go back because I do think it was very effective when the kid who kept getting her foot pulled finally woke up and was like, Nancy, it's behind the door, because we can't see shit, but she can see it and she's selling it. And Nancy's like, I'm going to walk over here because I don't believe you, even though weird shit's been happening.
Right.
That was very effective and very practical, and that they gave us nothing but a door slamming and some screams.
Shall we give a moment of grief? R.I.P. The only death in this film, the dog. That dog said, I ain't going. Here's the thing. If you going into a new house and your dog will not go into that house, do not go into it.
No.
Because it's not even like hesitant. It is like he tries to lift it up and he's like, I am not. It's like Effie White in Dreamgirls.
The dog knew. And these people were like, no, we're going to this haunted house because it's a fixer-upper. And I don't understand that logic ever. Because what happened is they went in and they picked up some ghost friends.
Right. Yeah, we're grieving for the only death in this film, which is the dog.
So, just coming back into the conversation.
Yes.
I actually, this is about the scene, but just a note in general, because I just finished it, so this is what's going through my head. I kind of believe pretty much every decision and every aspect of this movie made by anything that's influenced directly by the characters' decisions. This is a rarity for me. I think this movie succeeds as much as it does primarily due to the performances. And I will say specifically Lily Taylor. I think she kills it in this movie. Like every aspect of this movie, as I'm watching it, I think to myself, that could be a B movie moment. That could be a B movie moment. That could be a B movie moment. But Lily Taylor is doing this like it's fucking like Streetcar Named Desire on Broadway.
But and like
every role, like I've seen her do some questionable content, but she's like, no, I'm a professional and I could win an Oscar for anything if I try hard enough. And I was like, it's a Catherine Zeta-Jones movie. It's fine. It's fine. And she's like,
but
no.
She's great in it. I mean, the whole cast is great, but I mean, like, and Vera Farmiga is phenomenal. Patrick Wilson is always good, but she just outshines all of them, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like she was the star. And Vera was like, hi, I'm normally the star of my own shit, if you don't mind.
And Patrick Wilson is just my husband, so it's fine.
This is I think his like third or fourth James Wan collaboration, because they've got Insidious, this, Aquaman, and then I guess if you count the sequels too.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, Aquaman?
That's a James Wan movie. The guy who directed The Conjuring.
Yeah.
I believed in him for all of this time, meaning all of these out.
He's a very hit or miss director for me, but
we did Aquaman. Look,
I didn't hate Aquaman, but it's not that good. I don't know. Anyway,
I think he's good at horror. I mean, he's proven he's good at horror. I like Insidious. I don't love Insidious. I actually haven't seen anything past 2, and I don't really remember 2. I think James Wan is sort of a person that I don't know. I think his movies are very well crafted. Like, I think the cinematography in this movie is great. I think the sound design in this movie is great. But like Insidious is good, not great. You know, Conjuring, I think, is great. Aquaman is good, not great. I mean, even some would say not even good. But it's like he kind of makes competent movies, and then it depends on the rest of the performances, I think, and the screenplay, like the writing, to how good it is. Because I mean, The Conjuring has a fantastic screenplay.
Yeah. Well, and like the moment, even on my rewatch tonight, that I was like, oh my God, it is super early, so it's not like super scary, but you know something is off. When the little girl finds the music box thing, and like as she plays it, and the music stops, it just gets darker. It just it slowly fades to something that's not right. And I was like, oh, I like that a lot. Yeah.
those scenes, like even when like their actual daughter, not the oh my God, I forgot Vera and Patrick's character names.
Ed and Lorraine.
Yes, Ed and Lorraine's daughter in the house with the grandma who's unconscious as hell. And like she's running from the darkness. And I was like, this is my fear. This is why I can't just have lights randomly go off. I can't have a clap on, clap off situation because I'll accidentally do these. And I'll be like, I have to leave, it's haunted.
And in terms of this movie, and like especially with I think haunted house movies, a lot of what you get are like weird inconsistent plot holes or just contrivances that really kind of like they're not, you can forgive them, but they're a little too blunt to just ignore. I think this movie covers it pretty well. Like they talk about how they can't leave because all of their money's in this house. They have no money left. He's a trucker who's barely working at all. And I will give it to James Wan in terms of this movie building dread. I think that's something it's very good at because you're saying weird shit starts happening. I try and like think of what I would do in these things with an unbiased, I haven't seen 1,000 horror movies point of view. And the stuff that happens to them is weird, but it's not, at least, especially when all your money's tied into a house, like, let's get the fuck out of here weird yet. Yeah. Like until that point, it's too late. At that point, it's too late.
Yeah, until that scene where she gets locked in the basement and the girl gets attacked in her room. That is when it escalates. But in their defense, after that scene is when Karen, what's Lily Taylor's character's name?
Carolyn, when she goes to the Lorraine and Ed
to get them to come to the house. It's directly after that scene.
Right.
I appreciated that because so often we see those kinds of things happen in these movies, and they're just like, it's fine. Whatever jumped off of that at you is more afraid of you than you are of it. And it's like, you can't ration away horror, Ma. We gotta go.
Or they gaslight you and be like, you're just crazy. Why would you say that?
These bruises on my face, iron deficiency. And I was like, come on.
So, Troy, let me ask you. I have two questions. One, because this is your first time seeing this movie, right?
Yes.
Okay, so one of my questions is how you think this compares to like what I would say the general average quality of haunted house movies, which I think, and then same question to Possession, because those are, I think, two of the easiest genres to get really just like lazy and just schlocky. And I think this movie does both of them. So
Lily Taylor's a VIP. I feel like this is somewhere in the tops for both of those for me. And I was telling Trent before you got into this Zoom, I wish we'd watched this before His House, because His House just did kind of. I don't want to ruin it for you because it's on Netflix and you're going to watch it so we can talk about it. But
His House.
His house.
Okay.
From the title, you know things are going to happen in the house, and I feel like I wish that I'd seen this before, because now I'm trying to like compare the two, and they're two completely different situations, two completely different movies. But I just saw like the whole haunted house almost feel situation just get revamped like 3 hours ago, and so I'm like, But I still think that this is definitely somewhere in the top. It's in the top. I don't know if I would say top 10 or top 20. Because it's new, and so I have to like give it a day and then call it back to see if we're really gonna hang out. But I think we're gonna hang out for a while. Yeah.
Cool.
I would say skipping to the end just a little bit. We'll go back, of course, but like because you brought up the exorcism part. When they're performing the exorcism at the end, it is a very good payoff, because they have built stress throughout this entire film, and now you're getting all of this like catharsis. But two, also terrifying. And whoever did the special effects on Lily Taylor's face, when that sheet or whatever gets torn and you only see half of it, that is not her face. Or if it is heavily make-upped, and it's
the witch character.
Right. It is terrifying. And then later on, when Ed calls out the name of the demon, and it turns and it's like the demonic face. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
What is the guy who was looking for the last kid, like in all the wrong rooms, finds her under a floorboard and then yells out to everybody and all the demons and ghosts, she's under the floor in the kitchen, so they can all come for her, and watching the mother pick up the sharp object, I think it's scissors, and crawl through that shit. I was like, she's on the same level as Hereditary's Toni Collette, and I don't like it. I don't like when moms are possessed and moving quickly. We need to slow them down and unpossess them.
Well, and I think with Possession, like, God, this just gets proven more and more, and this is why I like that horror has been going through a renaissance for the past, I even will say 10 years. But it's so easy for that special. You can get like Possession movies where the special effects or the makeup are that good, where they definitely meet that standard, because I feel like you have a lot of very, very, very talented makeup artists working on very low budget movies. But a lot of those actors seem to rely primarily on the makeup to get any sort of like, terror or dread across. And it's this, I think, coming from theater, it's this very interesting acting dynamic where, especially in film, where it's hard enough to just act through your eyes and get that fear and terror out through your eyes without overexpressing, but it's 10 times harder to do that through that makeup and not have it be just the makeup, if you know what I mean. And Lily Taylor, I would say Linda Blair as a kid, but and my other one would be Eva Green from Penny Dreadful. She has a few possession scenes in that show, and like I think the actor makes the possession.
Yes.
Yeah, I would include. I can't think of the actress's name, but The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Because
I've
that actress.
never-
Wait, no. Yes,
I forgot her name.
she's from Dexter too.
Yeah.
I've never finished that movie.
Oh, it scares me. But we don't have to go to that.
It was
But
bad.
any kind of demonic possession spirit thing. I don't know why, but it scares the shit out of me.
My thing about exorcisms, which is why I sort of left that genre for a hot minute, is because it always comes back to the young girl all of a sudden has an attitude and is calling people out. She must be possessed, and then she is. And so like I don't like that narrative, which is why I'm kind of here for like Metamorphosis, which is on Shudder. And I kind of like that because we got away from that for a moment. And I was like, ooh, what if it's not just the upset teen? So yeah.
I will say, and we can get back to The Conjuring after this. I think
yeah.
this is just comes to mind. Like, that's what we're supposed to be talking about. Despite everything that came after it, I think the first season of American Horror Story actually does possession really well, too. It's very like, it's much more like, I don't want to spoil Bly Manor. I guess at this point, I feel like I'm just going to say something from it. It's much like the way they do it in Bly Manor, but I'm not going to get any further into that. But I think the first season of American Horror Story does possession well, just from like a ghost to human standpoint.
It's the best season they ever. Murder House, I stand by Murder House still. Some of
It's
the
not
other,
called Murder House. It's just American Horror Story.
we dubbed it Murder House because everything else got a name and it deserved one.
I just like that and the first half of Coven for me are the only things I've ever enjoyed for American Horror Story. And I hated the second half of Coven as much as I hated the rest of American Horror Story until I stopped watching.
As much as I love Stevie Nicks, she didn't need her own episode for the penultimate episode. Because at that point, we should be driving through to the end. And instead, it's like, this is a concert I would have enjoyed 4 weeks ago. This would have been fine 4 weeks ago.
Right. I still like American Horror Story, but I get it. Anyway, The Conjuring, though.
The Conjuring.
I will say that in the beginning, like the first 20, 30 minutes maybe, are a little slow, maybe a little bit, but it builds up. It builds you up though. But once that basement scene hits, it is a like almost vertical line of tension.
I will give it that. I didn't feel like it was a super slow 20 because it was checking the boxes and introducing us to the characters. And because there's so much to introduce us to, I didn't mind it taking those 20 minutes because it's two families. It's these two people who do this very specific thing and teach these classes or give lectures. That's one of my things in these supernatural horror movies. There's always some college nearby where you can get a degree in like supernatural shit. And I'm like, what? Huh? What building is that in? What college in that? Is it the humanities? Is it the sciences?
Right. But I did like in the lecture scene at the end for like when the students like, well, so what do we call you? And they're like, well, she's clairvoyant and I'm a demonologist, but most people just call us kooks. I was like, oh, I mean, that's probably legit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're doing something like that, you're used to it. And you also have to sort of see it as, I would think this was ridiculous if I was not inside of it and knew what was happening.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. So, but yeah, once that scene happens and we get out of that and we bring in Lorraine and Ed and we see them everyone is now sleeping in the living room because they're all so terrified. Everything after this point is so scary to me.
I loved when they brought Lorraine in and we had these scenes and we were like, this is fine. She's meeting all the daughters. And then they're like, rewind. She was clocking the ghost attached to each of you in each of these scenes.
And when they go back and they're literally playing the same footage they've already shown you, you can see it in the way Vera is performing it. You can see that she's not really looking at Lily. She is looking past her to what is behind her.
Yeah, that is fun storytelling. I I like being deceived in that way where I think something's happened. I'm like, okay, yeah, this scan, you have to do this. And it's like, no, she's getting the real tea. She doesn't want to upset it yet. She's trying to figure some shit out.
Right. And you can see it in her face that she's like, fuck, this shit's nuts, but I can't tell the family this, like I can't just tell them this is hell. You're in hell.
Yo, ghost. You gotta ease into that conversation.
But yeah, so her performance in that scene was both times you see it, so good.
I want to take a moment to acknowledge that this Carol Baskins vomited blood or Kool-Aid into the mom's mouth, and that's how she possessed her. And I'd rather you just not. There's got to be other more sanitary ways than doing that. That's when I was like, oh, this is gross.
It's not about sanitary. It's the most effective way.
There's got to be another way. Like, I don't want the vomiting of the dead person's whatever those fluids were. It's gonna fall.
It was. But then, okay, so Lily Taylor's performance, pre-possession and post-possession, is so good. So the scene where beforehand we see her, anytime the children scream or have discomfort of any way, she is the first one up and going and running to see what's going on. But then afterwards, the scene where I think it's the oldest daughter is getting dragged around the room by her hair, she doesn't even move. She is unbothered. The dad is the one that's chasing her around the room. She's just standing there.
I did laugh a little bit at that scene because I needed a laugh and it was there. Okay.
It was some like intense static at first, and then it was not.
Right. No. Do you have any hot takes, Charlie? You're usually the king of hot takes. I would like some hot takes.
I know. I mean, I just finished it again and I'm thinking about it. I really love this movie. Like I do. And I think one of the things that I think this is a really high quality B horror movie. Like I've mentioned before that it has moments that you're like, oh, that could be a B horror movie. That could be a B horror movie. And I think it's more that that's its genre, that's its tone, but done really well because the movie's really retro. I mean, even the opening title sequence, some of the music choices, like the movie feels retro. It doesn't feel like a rehash of an old story. It feels like a vintage movie. I think for me, I have always, and for years before seeing this movie, had said that jump scares were one of the worst things to ever happen to the genre of horror. And I think James Wan, with Conjuring, less Insidious, more Conjuring, kind of proved that jump scares can be effective and well done and not be hokey. Like the whole time in this movie, you know it's coming. You know the clap is coming. You know that there's, the thing in the closet. Like the music builds it, the cinematography builds it the way a million horror movies have done before. But there's something different about this one. So I think, I don't know, I guess it's not really a hot take. I would just say that I think The Conjuring proves that jump scares can be done very, very well.
And I think
I can't really think of a lot of other movies that I know for their jump scares.
Right. And I think a lot of the reason why this one is successful in that is that it takes your expectations and shifts them a bit. Yes, there's a jump scare. So like when I've already mentioned this for a little while ago, but like when the daughter is going and opening the wardrobe, and that's when she opens the door, that's when you think something's going to pop, or she's like going through the clothes. That's when you think something's going to pop out at her, but no, it's on top of it, and it leaps down on top of her. Same thing with the clap. You expect the clap to happen because it's happened twice already, but you don't expect the little voice to say, "Do you want to play hide and two claps," or whatever that game is called? And then and you don't expect the hands. I expect the sound, but I did not expect the hands.
I expected the hands. I was not ready for how they happened and how close to her they happened. because I thought, okay, we're gonna like, no, we're here already. Okay. To sort of like get back to these points, I had a conversation earlier today about how I feel like what makes a good horror movie is a horror movie that knows its lane and stays in it. Because what a lot of horror movies don't tend to understand is that like they are reaching for something they cannot be, which is why you have these slashers who like are serious, and it's like it's called Buckets of Blood 4, dude. Come on, like it's not art. And so I appreciate that this one was like, we know who we are, we know what we're doing, we're gonna keep it simple and still scare the fuck out of you. That's a mission statement I can get behind.
And the movie is scary. Like, I'm not a person that scares very easily, and I think that's a cheap way to get someone like me scared is with a jump scare, even though those really even don't scare me that much. But the movie just feels terrifying throughout. It kind of like, you know, it definitely has that anticipation of like waiting for something to happen. A lot of the times in movies like this, I don't know why, but I think of Titanic. Like that moment when they're gonna hit the iceberg and you know they're gonna hit it, but you're still kind of like, no, yeah, thinking maybe they won't hit it this time that I'm watching it, and it always happens, and you know what's gonna happen to this family, but the movie just endears you to them so much that when the horror does start, I think that's, again, I come back to the performances. I think that's like the linchpin for me, but not linchpin. That's like the key for me, because everything that happens in any other movie we would expect to happen, but it almost is more terrifying because we actually like these people, which is why I like the setup at the beginning. And I actually think the setup is a lot shorter than a lot of other horror movies I've seen. And when they try and throw it at you very quickly, when there's been a lot of slow setup, I think it's a little jarring. It's one of the reasons I think the Evil Dead remake is like one of the most effective film remakes I've ever seen. That's a possession movie.
I liked it. Ooh, yeah, but yeah, like the build, I keep talking about the build, but the build is very nice. Because, so for example, the scene that we've been coming back to, the one where she's locked in the basement, you see the hands, blah, blah, blah. We see that happen before when she's playing with the youngest daughter while the other kids are at school, and she's playing the clap game or whatever, and she goes into the room and we see the hands in the closet, or the wardrobe, I mean, come out of the clothes and clap. So we have seen that once before, and she goes up to the thing and she's like, I can hear you breathing. I can hear. So like just the build of stress and like fear is very effective. And I think one of the reasons why this film works so well is because it builds throughout the whole thing until you're like, everyone is screaming and she's got scissors and now she's biting off someone's cheek and the chair is levitating and like nuts.
The chairs that were thrown at children in this movie, like we're the guardians.
Have either of you seen The Conjuring 2?
No. I've
Okay.
seen it, except for tonight.
Trent, you have seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sheree, I'll be interested to see what you think of The Conjuring 2.
It's gonna be a while because like I found like the scariest movies I watched this week, and so I'm a little traumatized because like first off, I did host on Shudder. I need you to watch it so we can talk about that as well.
Did I mention that to you, or did I mention that to someone else?
You mentioned it to someone else because we talked about other stuff. So like, side note for people watching, Charlie is going to be on Monday's episode, not this Monday. Wow. 2 weeks from now, the first full Monday of November for Scream. And we had a whole little side conversation then about movies we need to watch. But Host was not on your list for me because I was on the fence about it. I was like, I don't know. It looks weird. And now I'm obsessed with it. My costume last night was that. The creative team saw it on Twitter and it's been shared a lot. I think I have new friends, or
Awesome.
They don't know I have new friends. We'll figure it out. So like we did that, and then we did like his house, which was just, and then we did this, and I need this cabin in the woods we have next. I need it.
Did you watch? Wait, did you watch Cabin in the Woods already?
We're about to
Yeah, it's coming up tonight.
after this.
Like I knew we were talking about it, but there's like time in between to watch it, right?
Right.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Is it on
I haven't
Hulu
seen it in a
still?
few months.
I believe it was.
So Cabin in the Woods was one of I have a movie club that's been going for, it'll be 4 years this December, and Cabin in the Woods was one of our movie club movies, and the way it ended up that was because it was someone's birthday, so they got to pick. And normally, this person was kind of new to movie club, so we hadn't really talked about this, but normally we don't do horror movies in movie club because I want to be respectful of everyone's tolerance of horror movies. So Cabin in the Woods was a very interesting one to have happen because the people that generally don't like horror, we were telling them, it's okay, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine. But some people were genuinely terrified by Cabin in the Woods as like a horror movie. So I always think that's an interesting conversation.
I know people terrified of ET. So like,
Okay,
Well,
well, that's a little.
When I was a kid, I was terrified of ET. Not
I would think
it's the beginning of the movie that terrified me as a kid. When it's like running through the corn or whatever it was. I don't remember.
not corn again.
But in terms of oh my God, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, but Host. Yeah, sorry. I know this is about The Conjuring, but Host impressed the hell out of me. I think Host revived what had already been a long, tired, and dead genre of movie. If they didn't revive it, they did a very good take on it.
I feel like it's the first time in a long time I've been excited for found footage. Because so often, and I was having this conversation earlier, so often it's forced and we have to like make sure you remember these are film kids and that's why the cameras were rolling. And it's like, I don't need that. I need you to get to the movie so I can tell you if it's good or not. If you have to give me 30 minutes of backstory, what are we doing?
There is also the whole thing of it being in COVID. Like you see her put on a mask at one point when she has to go outside. Like there's like found footage might find new life in this world of pandemic.
Yes.
Because stuff like webcam movies could be good. But I also rewatched Unfriended recently, and that movie is not good. Like that movie is not scary. So there's definitely. I mean, I will say I think the peak of found footage movies is Searching, which if you haven't seen Searching, I highly recommend. John Cho is fantastic in it. But Host was definitely impressive. Host was scary. It got me a couple times.
Yes, I loved all of it because I went into it thinking it's going to be a quick movie, it's new, whatever. And so it was the first time this week I had my expectations blown because like I said, as a horror movie fan, I know not to get excited. I know to go in with a low bar. And sometimes they won't even meet that low bar, but I do it because I love the genre still. And so to like have that in his house, just sort of be like, hi, you've earned a good movie. I mean, to be like, I did. What did I do?
Well, I might watch that after we get off here then. I mean, I've seen Cabin in the Woods a million times. I don't really need to rewatch it, but I wanted to watch another horror movie.
Yeah,
so maybe I'll check that out.
It's on Netflix, about an hour and 33 minutes. Maybe 35. Worth it.
Well,
you got your Smith, you got your only, I forgot her last name. Forgot it.
Whatever.
Well, I'm going to pop off and go do that because I'm also super hungry and going to eat my pizza.
You should. Yes.
So I will see you guys later.
See you later.
Bye, world.
So, an interesting dynamic, and I think one of the things that makes The Conjuring scary is the idea that they find out later on in the film that the spirit or witch or ghost or demon or whatever it is possesses the mother to kill the child.
Right.
And we've seen that motif or that pattern happen in the past. Terrifying. I mean, killing.
So many urban legends.
Yeah.
So many urban legends. A tale as old as time, like mother and the child, if you will. And so I don't know. This one was different though, because I didn't just roll my eyes and go, not a fucking again. I was like, Go on.
Well, and it makes me wonder because we see that this has begun, whatever this curse was, or that whatever, began with a, in air quotes, witch, who the father found was sacrificing the child. Was she also possessed, or did she begin the possessions? The world may never know. I mean, because and they say that after that, she at 3:07 in the morning climbed up a tree and hung herself, and before that, she professed her love for Satan. So maybe that the act of her killing herself brought the demon into the world, but it's definitely not just the ghost of this witch that is haunting this house. There is a demonic presence here.
There's so many presences. There's too many presences.
I feel bad for that little boy, though. Rory.
I don't want to know his story because we already had 5 kids in this house, plus Lorraine and Ed's kid. That was 6 kids too many already. And then you're going to put some little haunted kids in there too? I was like, this movie's coming for me and I don't want it.
Right. When you see, like, because his mom killed him and then ended up killing herself. I mean, the trope of what the film is.
Yeah.
But he's the one, he's kind of protecting the girls. I got that feeling that he was like, he showed her like in the scene where the girl is hidden or whatever, he's like, come over here, this is where I usually hide. So he's showing them places where they can hide from their mothers or the spirit or the possession or the demon or the whatever. So I think he was a good spirit.
I need to rewatch it to have an actual thought on him other than not another child. My question, my concern, my comment, Lorraine and Ed have been doing this for a hot minute. So they understand that, like, the things that they collect from all of these people they save, dangerous. Why would they put them in their own home? Was there no better way?
I mean, they say that though, right? The reporter comes in and he's like, why do you keep this in your house? And Ed says something to the effect of, these things are better in here where I know where they are than out in the world where they could be doing whatever the fuck they want to do.
I feel like because you have a child in the house, and of course she gets into it when that scene is happening, there's gotta be a better way. Like, I don't know how you go about getting a grant to put haunted things into a vault somewhere, but that could have been looked into.
Fair points made. I don't know. I see both sides. I don't think that's completely out of the realm of, like, because he tells his daughter, because remember she sneaks in when the reporter is there. He tells her, you're not supposed to come in here. You're never supposed to be in this room.
Which means she has to go in it again. That's probably the sequel. Like,
she did go in there in this movie. Remember? Because when she wakes up and she goes down, she's like, Grandma. The door is open and it's usually locked, like, tight.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then she got Annabelle in a chair because Annabelle's in the house because they brought that busted doll to the house.
Raggedy Ann doll.
You keep that shit outside. Like,
if their daughter is still alive. I mean, surely she is.
I think so. I didn't read too far into the Wikipedia article because I wanted to know why those names were familiar. So I Googled them and then I was like, that's why they're familiar. Forget this again. Forget it again. Abort.
They are very interesting people. It is interesting that Ed was the first and I think only non-priest that the Catholic Church gave the rights to give exorcisms, or, like, and that she claimed or was clairvoyant. They're very interesting people. If you ever have a chance to watch the special features on the Blu-ray, there is an interview with her about this case.
I did not want to know more about her because I remember hearing their names because of Amityville, because it always comes up when they redo Amityville or make another sequel, which is every couple months. And so I was like, okay, so it's those people. I didn't even know they had other side quests because I'm like, where were these other side quests taking them? I don't want to know.
The sequel The sequel, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong about this. I think the sequel is actually in the real timeline a prequel to this.
I know that they referenced the Amityville town. I know they referenced it a couple times for those of us who were paying attention. And I was like, I already know what I need to know because I Googled to remind myself who these people are. Don't bring that into this as well. Let us deal with the time.
You've already brought Annabelle. We don't need another one.
Right? Don't be having special guests from their resume. Don't do that to me. What?
The Conjuring. That's terrifying.
I don't know if I can continue this one. I might tap out here. I wanted to spend time with Annabelle, but now I don't. I've seen none of this. I've seen none of the Conjurings, none of the Annabelles. So I thought that we were going to see this doll like possess some people or murder.
No, Annabelle's nothing like Chucky. That's all I'm going to say.
Clearly.
It's nothing like Chucky.
Clearly, because she's breaking out of cases in their houses and haunting their daughter. So like,
she's all about demons and devils and not about serial killers and possessing dolls. No. But actually, well, anyways, I'm not going to get into it because you haven't seen it. So it's 8:58, right? Or my time. Yeah. So just a reminder, everyone, we're doing Cabin in the Woods is our late night choice for this evening. This is the one that got more votes than any other thing we've voted on. So
more than Alien and Fright Night, which I mean, I saw Fright Night not winning this trio. It made me sad, but I knew it was going to happen. But I thought we'd be watching Alien tonight. I did.
I did too. But I am glad for this one because it's a little shorter.
Right? And it's funnier. Like, love Sigourney, but it's a serious movie. And so I'm happy.
In both.
Spoilers. People haven't seen it. Spoilers, people haven't seen it.
You don't know when. You don't know how. You don't know anything. She's just somewhere.
They gonna figure it out when they see the set. They'll figure it out.
Don't feed.
Y'all heard Annabelle in movies to people. Trent, stop Annabelle in movies.
I actually say something else. Okay, that's all I'm saying. She's just in it. You can find it on IMDb. Anyway. Anyways, it's 8:59 now. I'm gonna blame it on the alcohol. Sorry everyone if that spoiled it for you. I won't say anything. Anyways, so join us at 11 o'clock Central, midnight Eastern. I don't know what it is in any other time zones, but something like that. In 2 hours, 2 hours time, we'll be back here, possibly with Charlie, and with Amanda's coming back for that one, isn't she?
Yeah. Those are people we're fairly sure we'll see again tonight. Anybody else is a surprise.
We'll see.
Yeah.
You never know. It's Halloween. It's also a blue moon and a full moon.
I love blue moons. I like my favorite.
All right. On that note, see you all in 2 hours. Stay fierce out there, everyone.